Also, before I turn it over to Jim, if anyone has any questions, Jim's going to go over quickly how to use the Q&A feature within here. We want this to be as informal and interactive as possible. We're going to set aside some time at the end of today's webinar for Q&A, but throughout Jim's presentation, please feel free to chime in with any questions you guys may have. With that, I will turn it over to Jim. Thanks again, everybody.
Great. Thanks so much, Ryan. Afternoon, everyone. Morning, depending on your time zone, where you're coming in from. So like Ryan said, just wanted to cover some quick housekeeping first. We will be turning off instant messaging for this meeting. So if you have any questions or comments that you want to ask, please go ahead and use the Q&A panel. You should see it in the bottom part of your client, depending if you're using Skype for Business or Link. Just go ahead in there, type the question, and we will try to answer it while we go along, and if not, we'll make sure we hit on all of them at the end of the meeting. So without further ado, we will get started here. Alrighty, so like Ryan said, my name is Jim Banach. I'm one of the principal architects here at New Signature. I'm also a Microsoft Certified Master and Microsoft Certified Engineer in the communications front, used to be known as the Link certification. So this is something I know, I love, and I hope today that we'll get all of you guys to love Skype for Business as well.
Their website, confirm that you want to wipe the...
Okay, so our agenda today, what we're going to cover, we're really going to try and do a really broad stroke and hit as much as possible today in the time allotted. So we're going to talk about Skype for Business. We're going to talk about what's new for your users, because really in the end, that's the people that we need to impress, and we need to make sure that this software works great. We're going to talk about what's new for IT pros. So for the technologists in the group, how has Skype for Business made our lives easier? How's it made it easier to deploy, easier to use? We'll go over a little bit of a demo, show what the client looks like, how it functions, what's new, what's different, what's the same. We'll spend a little bit of time on what's next. So if any of you have seen some of the keynotes that have been going on during Microsoft Ignite this week, or some of the announcements in the last few weeks, you'll know that Microsoft has been on a great pace of new features. So we'll talk a little bit about what's coming and what you can expect in that. And then finally, we'll leave some time at the end for, open the floor for Q&A, both through the IM, and then also, we'll open up the microphones if anyone has questions. So what is universal communications? Microsoft is really kind of, and this was announced last year, Microsoft has taken that next step, saying it's not just unified communications. We've brought all the technologies together. It's really a universal communication, that it's personal. So it doesn't really matter what device we're using. We're going to be able to connect to people, no matter where they are, whether they're on their mobile device, whether they have a tablet, whether they have a computer, whether they're at home, whether they're in a classroom. We want to make it simple and integrated. Again, it's not really of a how am I going to call someone and how am I going to reach out to that person. It's just that I want to reach out to that person no matter how they're available. And then finally, we need it to be enterprise ready. We need it to be flexible. We need to have a complete solution set. We need to make sure that IT can control it. The big difference between any consumer workload and an enterprise workload is that IT has that control and they know what's going on at all times. So what's changed in even the last 4 or 5 years around communications? We've always talked about bring your own device and kind of that blurring of the workplace. People are working from home. They want to be social. They want to include their people they are. They want to use every device. They want to be in scenarios where that they're doing real-time communication, but also, maybe they're just, working in kind of an asynchronous motion and just want to have a back and forth. And finally, we all want to use the cloud. wherever we can offload infrastructure or take advantage of that great processing power that's out there, let's go ahead and take advantage of it. And that's not only been a driver in that unified communications front, but also really in IT and as an industry as a whole. So again, Microsoft's mandates for universal communications has really been having that familiar experience of whether I'm using the business apps, whether I'm using the consumer applications, that it's the same look and feel, that it's the same technology, that it's easy to use. We want to make sure that the application is intelligent and that it's context aware. So if I'm making a video call on my mobile device versus a 50-inch television, I'm aware of that. I tailor the experience to the device. Going into that, we want to make sure it works on all devices. I don't care if you're using a Mac, I don't care if we're using Windows, a web client, a projector in a conference room, or my mobile device, or a tablet. We want to make sure it works on all devices, and we want to make sure video is everywhere. Video has been proven in a lot of studies to be a lot more engaging, keeps people involved in the conversation, it helps it feel more personal, so let's go ahead and use video. And then finally, we want to make sure that we can reach everyone through the cloud. Not every organization has huge IT infrastructure and expenditures to build a great collaboration environment, so let's make sure that we can use the cloud to get a hold of everybody. So that brings us to Skype for Business. And really, what is Skype for Business? It's the same feature set that we have been used to on Lync for the last really 5 years since Microsoft moved off Office Communication Server back in 2010. The design has been inspired by Skype. So a lot of feedback, a lot of communication between the teams and Microsoft and end users saying, we want this to look and feel more like Skype. Skype is really easy to use. It's 1 click, 2 clicks, we're connected, it works. We want to make sure that it's enterprise grade. This is the big piece. If we have a video call and you have people from all over the world, you want to make sure that call works and it works flawlessly. And to really facilitate that, we want to make sure that we can take advantage of all the resources. So my on-premises servers, taking advantage of the cloud, and then really building a hybrid so that we can take advantage of the cloud as we're ready and take advantage of our existing on-premises resources. So again, with Skype for Business and formerly Microsoft Lync, Microsoft is in the leader quadrant in Gartner for unified communications. I believe this year they're even expected to move up into the top spot, even ahead of Cisco as far as a total UC portfolio. Forrester has also labeled them as a leader for unified communications. Microsoft is really driving the marketplace on this, letting people know this is our vision for communications for the future. Microsoft has become a preferred vendor for more than many other IP PBXs in terms of purchases, surveys, usability. Once we're deployed, Microsoft, when compared to other IP PBX vendors, which is where we normally think about this space, has become more preferred. And then finally, the last statistic I really like, because it shows that over 80% of almost 80% of enterprises have already started to plan to deploy or are currently deploying Microsoft Lync, with the majority of them also planning to deploy telephony in some aspect. And I think that's a really telling tale when you think of back in 2008, 2007, 2005, Microsoft had no market in enterprise PBXs. So really, if you look at the last 10 to 15 years, Microsoft has come from out of nowhere to having a top-tier enterprise-capable product that almost 80% of the enterprises in the US are deploying. So what has Microsoft done for users with Skype for Business? The big thing, like we mentioned, is that Skype look and feel for easy adoption. People are used to using Skype at home. They use it on their phone. They use it on their iPad. They use it on their Xbox. They're using it on their computer. So let's bring that same look and feel into the business clients. Studies have always shown people that are using the same tools at work and at home are generally more productive at work. So let's bring that to our communication. Let's make sure that we can talk to everybody on the Skype network. It's great that we can have instant messages and video calls within our organization and conferences, but let's involve everybody that is in the Skype network. Billions of users. Some of the stats would say, on a given day, Skype tends to count for a very large percentage, I think over 40, 50 million minutes a day of calling in some European countries. So, we may not see it all the time here in the United States, but if you get out into Europe and Asia and the Asia Pacific region, more people have Skype accounts than have phone numbers sometimes. So, really Skype is a ubiquitous worldwide piece, and we want to make sure we can reach all those people. We have that full enterprise communication feature set. So everything that we're used to, instant messaging, presence, online meetings, having this voice, video, and content, having enterprise voice available to us so that we can use, calling the PSPN, calling people on their cell phones when they may not have Skype or Link or Skype for Business. And then that scale support of cross-platform. So, really, as we've seen from the mantra of Microsoft in this, cloud-first, mobile-first mentality that we've been pushing, is it really doesn't matter what device I'm connecting from. I can be on an iOS device, an Android device, Windows, Mac, smartphones, tablets, room systems, the Surface Hub that was announced, HoloLens that Microsoft has been showing off in some of the latest demos. All that's going to be able to take advantage of Skype for Business so that the best workflow for you at the given moment is what you can take advantage of. We're going to want to connect people everywhere. So whether, again, you're going to be able to search your users, you're going to be able to connect to them on the devices, you get that same presence and contact card and information that we were used to in Link. A lot of this has not changed. The feature set that we have been used to and your staff has been used to in Link continues in Skype for Business. Anyone can join this meeting, whether you have a Link account, a Skype for Business account, whether you don't have any instant messaging platform, people are still going to be able to join the meeting. And it works across, if we see the bottom here, all devices. So your mobile clients, your desktops, Macs, the web apps. If you have just a desk phone, VDI, the Surface Hub, the big Skype room systems, all those can support all the same content information. Is that design inspired by Skype? People are used to the Skype product. The more they know it, the more they know the name, the more likely people are to try it. So it's that familiar, easy. It becomes that running point for all of your conversations. It helps you stay on top of what's going on. So some of the feedback that always came in, not everybody liked those emoticons in Link 2013. Emoticons have been inspired by Skype. You wouldn't think that's a big business reason, but we have heard time and time again, those new emoticons, people really love them. Another thing that always happened, you were in a call and maybe you opened up 3 other windows and your window fell to the back. Now it always has this always on top, as we see right here, showing that this call window will stay on top, and we'll show that off a little bit later in the demo. That same rich meeting experience that we've been used to with Microsoft Link builds into Skype for Business. So getting that face-to-face, having that gallery view of participants, being able to see multiple video streams at the same time, being able to mark up information in your PowerPoint, in a whiteboard, have that instant message, have that Q&A panel as things are going on. And then you can be as involved or as much of a consumer of that content as you want. So whether you're presenting a meeting like I am today or you're just listening in, you can be involved as much as you want. You can participate. You can say, I just want to listen to this. You have that ability of what you want to do. Some of the things that were announced during Microsoft Ignite this week that I haven't had a time to put into the slides, not only are you going to be able to collaborate on a PowerPoint like we can now of doing whiteboarding and drawing on it, that's going to start bleeding to the rest of your Office applications. So co-authoring a Word document right from a Link meeting, co-authoring Excel from a Link meeting, were items that were announced this week in Ignite that are coming to Skype to Business in the future months. Built into Office, and this is really kind of one of the most compelling features I feel as part of this process, is that we're used to using Microsoft Office. We've all been using it for 10, 15, 20 years, let's take that same experience, let's bring Skype for Business as an integral part of it. So being able to see presence in an email, being able to see that contact card, starting a conversation right from a Word document or from a SharePoint site or from within a PowerPoint. We don't need to know that we need to go over to our Skype for Business client and start a call. We can do it right there in the piece of technology that we're working on at that moment. And it works across all platforms. So that mobile device, desktop, Mac, the web app, in that Surface Hub, Skype for Business is going to be integrated with those Office apps on all of those applications. Finally, enterprise voice. So a lot of customers, now that I have this great universal communications platform, do I need a separate PBX? Not always. You get that peer-to-peer calling with Microsoft Link, or Skype for Business, I'm sorry. We can call to the PSTN. So if I need to call a cell phone, if I'm calling a partner that doesn't have Skype for Business or Microsoft Link, I can do that. I get those enterprise calling features, call forwarding, simultaneous ringing, call parking, auto attendance. All the things that we would expect in an enterprise phone system are available in Skype for Business, many of them right out of the box. And then finally, integrated networking. A lot of times, companies would build a separate voice environment that was completely segmented from the rest of their network for handling their voice over IP communication. This created additional complexity, more networks to manage. If someone wanted to use a soft client on their computer, maybe they weren't able to because it wasn't able to talk back to the system, or the call quality wasn't the same level because all that work that had been put into the voice network was not put on your data network. Microsoft and Skype for Business assume a converged network by default, and we're really able to control that experience so you have a great call no matter where in the world you're connecting from. So again, kind of to recap, no matter which feature you need, who we're connecting with, what device we want to use, Skype for Business really crosses all platforms to help you get together and do a better job communicating. So again, that desktop client, it looks a lot like the Microsoft Link client. You have the same dial pad, we have the same contacts, we have that same presentation format. So users are already familiar with how to operate. And if they haven't used Link in the past, it feels a lot like Skype that they're using at home. So they're able to pick up on it very quickly. There's been a lot more information in first runs that have said, here's how we do common tasks. Microsoft has done a great job of putting up videos that you can link on YouTube or share out on your company intranet. The mobile clients. Currently, the mobile clients are only running the Microsoft Link versions. However, they connect to Skype for Business perfectly. And Microsoft has said the new versions are going to be coming this summer. So you'll see all your mobile clients for your iPads, your iOS devices, your Android, your Windows phones being rebranded Skype for Business this summer. So bringing that same look and feel that we've already seen on the desktop now to the mobile clients. And you're going to have that same information, present, conversation history, pulling your meeting calendar, that HT video, sharing your content, being able to present content that you have saved on your mobile device. Right now, this is a new feature coming to iPhones and iPads and Android tablets that if I have the Link or Skype for Business mobile app and I have Office Mobile with a PowerPoint, I'm going to be able to share that PowerPoint right from my iPad. You're able to control it. So you can say, I only want video calls while I'm on Wi-Fi. Maybe I'll allow audio calls while I'm on the cellular network so people aren't using up their data caps, which are, in the wireless business, a real thing. The Surface Hub. Some of you may have seen this announced by Microsoft in the last few months as part of their Windows 10 experience. The Surface Hub is really going to be designed to help bring all experiences together. So it's going to be optimized for Skype, but it's going to be able to do everything a full computer can do. So we see the picture here, being able to mark up and whiteboard with multi-touch, having people join in remotely, really bringing that experience. So again, no matter what type of room you're in, you're going to be able to work with Skype for Business. The Skype room systems. These formerly were known as the link room systems made by partners such as Polycom, Crestron, Smart. Some enhancements have come to this. You're going to get that single click to join meetings from the apps. Inking and whiteboarding and the content is going to become more robust. Smart just announced that you're going to be able to share any content from a computer that is on your screen and ink it and mark it up just like it was a part of a meeting. And then finally, because we have these large monitors, that gallery view of really bringing people into the room becomes even more important. So from the that small huddle room all the way up to the large boardrooms that we might have this information in, we're able to use Skype for Business. So again, this kind of just summarizes whether we're on the go, in that coffee shop, we're working at our office, we're in a huddle room, we're in a conference, we're in a public space, or in a large auditorium, there's a device, there's a workflow and an experience that Skype for Business really fits into. So what's new for the IT Pro? So we've talked about what's great for your end users, how Skype is going to be more engaging, how it's going to bring them into the conversation quicker and easier. What's new for the IT pros, people that are managing our environments, people are making the decisions of what's going in. So what Microsoft has really tried to do is make sure that everything is a simple upgrade. If you're already running Link 2013 now, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have a huge new IT expenditure deploying Skype for Business. We wanted to make sure that we could take care of Skype for Business online if you're leveraging the cloud. And if you're somewhere in between or you're investigating the cloud or planning on going there, we want to make sure that you can have a hybrid with that Office 365. And from a branding and management and administration, have it all managed under one single platform. So there's not 5 different places to go and manage your environment. So how did Microsoft put this together? As an IT pro, we really want to make sure that we can properly plan a solution, we can effectively deploy it without a lot of downtime, with a lot of expenditure or complexity, and then finally, when we're operating the system, when it's in production, how do we make sure it's working well? How do we support it effectively? How do we have metrics that matter so that we know what's going on in the environment, and when things do go wrong, we know how to fix it? And then finally, is there a lot of information out there that helps us fix that so that we're not hunting blindly, that we know where we need to go to improve certain things? And this is something that started in the latter half of Microsoft Link's existence. They were known as KHI and the call quality methodology. And Microsoft has intrinsically built that in as a core feature of Skype for Business. So just some of the improvements in here. This is by no means a comprehensive list, but some of the things that have changed in Skype for Business server that has been released now last week. Updates to the Windows Fabric. We can now do in-place upgrades. I think this is one of the best features, that if we're running Link 2013 servers right now, we can upgrade to Skype for Business without deploying any new infrastructure. We're able to easily migrate users from on-premises to online. Previously, we had to know a lot of PowerShell. You could only do it in PowerShell. Now we're going to be able to do it right online, manage all my users from one place. There have been additional improvements in high availability and disaster recovery in terms of if I've lost a server, can I bring it back into the pool easily? If my pool suffered a catastrophic failure, can I bring it online faster, get users up and running quicker? I talked a little bit already about the call quality methodology and the key health indicators. So really pulling all that information that Skype for Business is already gathering in performance counters and event logs and turning it into useful, actionable information. The call quality dashboard is a key piece of that, of showing where in my environment am I potentially having call problems, and what are those problems? Not just that there's a problem, but what's causing it and how can I fix it? Synthetic transactions. If you've worked with any large Microsoft product, we know we like to automate that monitoring. So doing additional tests of making sure things like setting audio calls, sharing content, work as they're supposed to. Getting activity reports. So who's using my services? How are they using them? In Skype for Business Online, more and more reports are being added showing who's doing video calls, who's doing audio calls. Patching improvements. Microsoft just says, we'll be able to patch a full Skype for Business pool now in 1 to 2 hours instead of the 6 to 8 it used to patch a full 18 server pool. Setup is smarter. If we're missing patches, it's downloading them for us. SQL always on support. This has always been an ask of SQL admins in Skype for Business in Link servers. Is Microsoft SQL always on is the new hotness of SQL. Why doesn't Link support it? Skype for Business now does. So this is just a small smattering of some of the new features that are in there. There's a lot more that really to make your life as an IT pro easier when managing Skype for Business. So some of the planning improvements that have come out, we've touched them a little bit. That on-premise user to migration tool, the Readiness and Adoption Kit. This is a great tool. It's available by Microsoft on their Skype for Business page for download. This has training videos. It has email templates. It has posters. It has quick reference cards. So as you're rolling Skype for Business out to your users, whether it's in the online version or on premises, you have information to help your change management, help your training teams, make sure that your users are armed with the information they need before they even get started. Deployment improvements. We talked about in-place upgrade, the smart setup, the patching improvements, health and readiness checks. This makes sure that we're not going to let you patch your servers unless we know that you're not going to cause downtime in a large distributed environment. So it's checking to make sure the other servers are online, functioning properly before it lets you patch a server, and it won't let you patch the next server until it's completely sure that the first one is finished patching. So really a check and balance again to make sure that we don't cause unnecessary downtime for our users in the environment. When we're operating, again, monitoring, supporting, tuning, fixing, reporting, the conference persistence improvements I think is a really interesting one here. Previously, if we had a meeting like this, 30 days after the meeting, all the meeting content would be deleted. The meeting would be removed from the environment. So if someone tried to go into that meeting to pull information on the 31st day or the 35th day, they would get an error. You commonly saw this if people copy and pasted meetings requirements from their Outlook and just into another meeting without clicking the new meeting button. So Microsoft has made some changes to make it so that when people do those type of things, because we know users are going to take the path of least resistance always, that the conferences stuck around so that there were less errors when we were joining conferences. We talked about the call quality dashboard. Here's a shot of it. So it's showing helping you get trends and information on your audio quality, how many people are using the environment, more so than the monitoring reports we had in the past. So this is built on SQL analysis services using that data cube and pivot model so that we really could, as an administrator, you can dial down into the information you need that's important to you. That same role-based admin access that has existed in Microsoft Link before exists in Skype for Business. So if you want people that are dedicated to your help desk role or voice administrators or have full control of the system, you're able to control that information. And those same roles are extending out to Skype for Business Online as well so that you can have granular control over what administrators can do what. Again, you have PowerShell, which is always, if you know PowerShell, it's very powerful. It's the best way to do things. But more and more features have been introduced into the web interface, into the graphical user interface to help your day-to-day administration. That deployment flexibility that we mentioned in the beginning. So Microsoft realizes that we're not always going to replace the PBX immediately, especially in worldwide deployments. Link Enterprise Voice and Skype for Business Enterprise Voice are great things, but we want to make sure that we can interop. So maybe we're first just bringing in conferencing, but we still want to use the phones on our desk, and we want to use the phones that we've deployed. We want to retain and have the two work together. Or maybe we do want to completely replace the PBX. Microsoft has built Skype for Business to have that flexibility and have those options. So how do we talk about that? And when we replace the PBX, we can remove the PBX altogether. You can route things between the two. We can tie directly into SIP service providers or use session border controllers to connect to those T1s and legacy PBXs that maybe are not IP aware. Gateways all around the world, we still have analog devices. We're able to bring that in. So again, the interoperability of Skype for Business to really whatever system that you may have in existence right now, there's usually a way to make it happen. We can connect, we talked about that. So there's that direct SIP, the coexistence that has existed in Microsoft Lync as the past, still exists with Skype for Business. So this is so that we can start rolling out old equipment. We can start getting that ROI for things like conferencing and IM presence and peer-to-peer calling while we're replacing things in the PBX. So now we've talked about what's great for the end user, what's great for the IT pro. Let's see a little bit of Inaction. So I'm going to switch over to presenting my desktop here, and we'll go over the Skype for Business client. So we were having a little bit of connectivity issues with this during our trials before. So if you can't see the screen right now, I do apologize, but it will totally be accessible when we have the video later. So what we see here, this is the Skype for Business client. If you haven't seen it before, you'll see it looks very similar to the Microsoft Lync client. We still have the same information up top. We can still set our presence. We can still change our location. We can look at our conversation history. We can see our meetings. We have that dial pad. We have the information in the contact cards. But you'll notice it's got a little more of that Skype look and feel. So we have the round icons. We have the Skype present circles instead of the squares, showing when people are idle and away, really making it more or easier for people to engage in that familiarity. When we hover over someone, we get that same information we had before. So we can start an instant message. We can have a call, whether with their cell phone, a Skype call, directly with their voicemail. We can start that video call. We can still see their contact card. So all that same information that we always had before is available in the Skype for Business client. We also, you can see here, it says Skype. We can have IM conversations with Skype clients right from the Skype for Business. And this actually works in the Lync client as well. So I can quickly start and I can say, hello. I'm having an IM conversation. This is actually on my mobile device sitting in front of me right now. But I'm having a conversation with someone in the Skype network. And it's the same process as what I'm doing with what I was doing with Skype for Business and Lync. We can escalate this to a call at any point just by clicking on that call button. So the one thing you'll notice is Microsoft really tried to make a change for the information and the buttons to be more accessible. Sometimes it was hard to tell how many participants were in a meeting, if I was presenting content, I had to hover over various things. So everything they really tried to do was say, one click, I'm able to go ahead and do this. One click to make a call, one click to present my content. If someone called in to me at this point, I'd also be able to find out, we get that call information, to transfer a call. So for example, say I'm calling Comcast. If I was in the Lync client, we'll pull this up here. Now, if I was in the Lync client, one thing that would happen is you commonly would see information that would say, I'm having issues connecting. You'd have to hover over for the dial pad to press information. So now this dial pad is right front and center. I can choose my devices very quickly. I can transfer. I can put calls on hold. Things that used to be 2 or 3 clicks and hard for users to find out are straight front and center here in the Skype for Business client, making it easier for users to interact and hold information. Adding people now is a one-click thing. So we're able to quickly find people and information instead of hovering and say, I want to present and I want to add new people. So making it easier to get at the tools that were already available in the previous clients. We're able to see all that same information. When we do a presentation, again, it's very similar to when we were doing link presentations in the past. We have that same information. I can present content. I can present my desktop and programs. One big change that was made when we're presenting things right now is if I'm presenting my desktop, if I have multiple monitors, it shows me a screen preview of those monitors so I can make sure that I don't accidentally share a monitor I don't want to share, or I'm sharing all 3 of my desktops at once, making it more visual, easier for users to see what we're doing. We can still upload PowerPoints. We can still add OneNotes and shared confirmation, manage that content, manage our notes, all the same things that we had before in Microsoft Link. They've made it easier for users to get a hold of. And then finally, we do have a larger list of emoticons. A lot of people really like this. They're a little animated now, so our sons dance. We have a ninja that disappears. You wouldn't think that these were a big deal, but this is one of those things that when people see these, they're like, this is the greatest thing ever. So again, making it more Skype-like, making it more personable to your users. So we're going to switch back over to the presentation now, so give me 1 second. So we've talked about a lot of new features, what's new for the IT pro, what's new for the users. What about feature X that maybe I didn't touch on today? There's been a lot of information being put out on Twitter, a lot of information that's been in Microsoft TechNet and the Office blogs lately, and other places of information in the community. There's been a lot of under the hood changes that Microsoft has made that may not be really flashy, but again are helping to enhance the end user experience. So one of the big ones is the video interoperability server. So previously, if I had a lot of old legacy video equipment, Cisco Tamberg equipment, Cisco VCS equipment, there wasn't a really graceful way for me to use them in Link meetings. I either had to go to third-party services or buy very expensive pieces of audio gateway equipment. Microsoft has built the video interoperability server as kind of that first step to bringing a lot of those disparate environments together. So now people that have Cisco equipment in their meeting rooms can join a Microsoft Link meeting, and everybody gets the experience that's tailored to them. So people in the meeting room, they're really focused on the video. People using your Skype for Business client, they can get the information using their Skype for Business client like they're used to. The Silk audio codec for peer-to-peer calls. So Silk is the codec that's been used for Skype really since it's come around. It's super low bandwidth. It can handle a lot of latency. I mean, we always see those calls that come from a satellite phone in the middle of a war zone. Those are Skype calls, and that video still works. So why don't we take that great codec, that really resilient codec, and start using it within Skype for Business so that we're using less bandwidth on our network. We can have a higher quality and better resiliency. Another new ad, server-side conversation history. So one of those issues that always popped up in the past, especially as Link became more ubiquitous on mobile, is that if I started a conversation on my mobile device, when I got to my desktop client, I didn't have any information of that conversation history, or vice versa. Or if I missed a conversation, you never were really sure of what screen that was going to end up on. Server-side conversation history will make sure that no matter what device I'm using, I'm able to take advantage and get that call history. And it's going to be doing that by taking advantage of some of those enhancements that were in place for conversation history to Exchange, as well as some additional backend database changes. Call via work. Call via work is the replacement to remote call control that's existed really since Live Communication Server. Microsoft introduced it in 2005 to help interoperate with legacy PBXs before Microsoft really had a voice solution. Call via work really functions a lot more like we'd be used to in things like Google Voice, where if I try to click to call from my client, what it's going to do is call out to my phone, be it my desk phone, my cell phone, anything that I designate, and then once that call's picked up, allow me to call out to the other side, still sync my presence, still allow me to put calls on hold from my Skype for Business client without having the legacy information that was remote call control and the complexity and information that required putting that together and then maintaining it. One of the other features we talked about a little bit, hybrid connectivity is native now with Office 365. Previously in older clients, that were really developed before Office 365 really hit its stride, that connectivity was almost as an afterthought and an add-on. Skype for Business has been built from the ground up to take advantage of those features that are in Office 365 and Azure. We've touched on, we've heard the Skype meeting announcements, being able to have 10,000 people in a meeting, being able to use Azure Express Route as part of Office 365. Skype is going to be built from the ground up to take advantage of those features. So what's coming next? The one thing, if anything, that we've seen from Microsoft in the last year or so is that they're not content with these major product releases every few years and updates every few quarters. As new features are coming out, they're going to be releasing them to us, letting us take advantage of them as soon as they come available. So new features are always going to be coming down the pipeline. That really rapid release cycle of new information. So some of the things that are on the roadmap, and obviously these are roadmap items. They are subject to change, but everything we've heard has said they're going to be pretty spot on with these. So coming the second half of this calendar year, so really this summer and moving forward, Microsoft is going to be expanding meetings in Office 365. So we're going to be able to have very large auditorium-style meetings, up to 10,000 participants in Office 365. And you're going to be able to attach these whether you're on premises or a cloud user. So if we think about, right now your average meeting in Skype maxes out about 250 people. 10,000 people, big, large company meetings, leveraging Azure Media Services to really distribute that traffic so that you're not having to use your network and worry about network capacity. Bring in cloud PSTN conferencing to the US. So right now, to have a dial-in number, if I'm using Skype for Business Online or if I'm doing conferencing, I have to work with a third-party provider. Microsoft's going to bring that in natively so that the experience that we have in Office 365 when we're scheduling a meeting is identical to the experience that we have in Skype for Business on premises and we had with Lync on premises in the past. It's going to initially launch in the United States this year, coming in 2016. It will be expanding to Western Europe and beyond. So, if you have a lot of international meetings and you want to start getting international numbers to make it more personal for your partners and participants, you're going to be able to start doing that coming at the end of this year and early next year. Other pieces coming at the end of this year, and these are the ones I'm really excited about. Cloud Enterprise Voice. Microsoft has done this great job of saying, you can move your email to the cloud. We can move SharePoint to the cloud. We can move instant messaging and peer-to-peer audio to the cloud. But we've always had to keep our phone system on premises. Coming this fall for customers from 50 people to 50,000 people, you're going to be able to run your PBX in Office 365 using Skype for Business Online. They're going to start scaling out. Initially, you're going to get those key call control features. So hold, transfer, being able to receive my call on whatever device I have, call forwarding, delegates, call via work. All that information will be here in calendar year 2016. And then coming at the beginning of next year, we're going to be bringing in all those other features that Lync and Skype for Business on premises had. So help desks, call pickup, call queuing, all that information that we're used to as that full enterprise voice portfolio will be coming 2016. Along with that, Microsoft will be able to offer phone numbers directly in Office 365. So right now, you may need to have your phone numbers local to extend to Office 365. Again, talking about that hybrid connectivity. Moving into the second half of this year, we're going to be able to get phone numbers directly in Office 365, working with a multitude of partners, AT&T, Verizon, BT, Level 3. So whoever you're buying your phone numbers through now and is your service, you're going to be able to continue using them, but they're going to work directly with Microsoft to provide that information to you. Then coming next year, and when we say fiscal year 2017, Microsoft's fiscal year runs from July to June. So about the middle of next year in 2016, Microsoft is really committed that says everything we can do in Skype for Business on premises, you're going to be able to do in the cloud, and you're going to be able to do even more. So that feature parity and that really becoming that cloud first mantra like we've seen with a lot of other Microsoft products such as Exchange Online and SharePoint Online and CRM, of launching those great new features in the cloud first, but also being able to take advantage of everything that we had on premises. So with that and kind of this wrap up, we'll take a look at the Q&A panel if anyone has any questions. I'm also going to open up the meeting IM and unmute the audience. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them now in these last few minutes here.
And Jim, I'm actually seeing a bunch of folks as muted still. Hold on one second.
Yeah, we'll do this. We'll go through and manually unmute. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send an IM. So Joe asked a question about how long does the single server upgrade take? I actually just did this in a lab last night. A lot of it's going to depend on how much content you've been storing in your meeting. So making that change from Link to Skype for Business is going to depend on what's in your file store. But for example, in my lab last night, I did it in about an hour. So if you're in a single pool environment, you would have some downtime during that. But if you had a highly available environment and you had pool pairing together, you could actually do those upgrades with no perceptible user downtime. So kind of a bad answer. It depends a little bit, but it definitely is not one of those where it's going to take the better half of a day to go ahead and do these updates.
Jim, there's a question in the chat window.
Yeah.
IM.
Okay, let me check my IM here. So one of the questions is, a user had a scheduled call with a user on an Ubuntu. So Microsoft still does not have a Linux client. There are a few third-party ones out there that are out there. But if you're using the web app, they can still join a conference because that's all HTML5 based. So I've seen some Linux clients kind of work, but they're nothing developed by Microsoft. They're always developed by third parties that may not have access to all the APIs. So it's a little bit of a mileage may vary. But if someone's joining in from a Linux client with the web application, they would at least be able to see the content, and they could dial in with their phone, for the audio portion. And some of the changes you'll be seeing coming later this year is Microsoft is going to make Skype for Business Web RTC ready. Another question, if there's an advantage if we have Link 2013 to upgrade to Skype for Business and not using Office 365, I would say absolutely. You're going to get your advantages of more reliability on the back end. There's been a lot of improvements in Windows Fabric. There's been a lot of improvements in the monitoring, reporting, edge services connectivity. So a lot of those little things that you may not have noticed if your environment's running relatively well, you would still want to make that upgrade. I think, do you want to be on a solution, when we start coming into the second half of this year, that's a 3- and 4-year-old product already. You can upgrade your users before or after the back end as well.
All right, the rest of you guys who were muted a couple minutes ago should now have voices. If you'd like to ask a question, please go ahead, type it in the window, or just speak up. Anyone else have any other questions before we wrap up? Alrighty, I think that's it for today. Well, thank you, Jim, for presenting, and thank you to all of our guests for joining us today. If anyone does have any follow-ups, what can you do? You can reach out to us at info@newsignature. Also, if you're on this call, you probably received an email from me, so please feel free to shoot something to me directly, roconnell@newsignature.com. Drop it in the window right now, and I can always obviously direct it to the most appropriate point of contact. If you'd like, we will be posting this webinar to the website shortly later today. Again, please feel free to share it with your colleagues, use it for your own purposes moving forward, and again, if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to get in touch. With that, thank you everyone for your time. We appreciate it, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.